Alright guys, here is the full review of the X1 Carbon 10th generation. Let's start with specs, give you a tour of the device one more time if you haven't seen my other video about this, and then I'll go ahead and tell you my impressions. And right off the bat, I'll tell you that they're mixed. Mixed is the best word I can provide here. When it comes to specifications, the exciting thing about this device is that it's using Intel's new 12th generation Alder Lake processor. So this is the i7-1260P, which is a 12-core processor versus last year's 9th generation Carbon running 11th generation Intel. Those were 4-core processors. So you get 8 efficiency cores and 4 performance cores. Now this hybrid technology should allow us to get better battery life and of course better performance when we're on battery, and then better performance overall, like when we're plugged in and Windows is set to better, best performance. 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM, another big new change for this year. 1 terabyte PCIe SSD, it's Gen 4, so it's fast. And a 14-inch 1920 by 1200 IPS anti-glare touchscreen. It does have low power capability, so they're not a big power draw when it's effectively on idle. That is not new, but that's what we have on this one. Now, it's rated by Lenovo as having 400 nits of brightness. I don't have a way of testing it other than the naked eye. I review a lot of laptops. I use a lot of laptops, and this is not 400 nits. I've messed around with auto contrast, auto brightness, disable, enable, Intel graphics driver, Lenovo Vantage, just Windows. I've tried everything I can think of. I even jumped into the BIOS on the advice of someone online. No luck, guys. This thing is not super duper bright, which in this particular setting, I'm in my office, I'm trying to make it look cool in here. It's plenty bright. You can get your work done. It's not a big deal. But if you have any backlight, so perhaps you're sitting next to a window, it's going to be the window is going to or the light rather, through the window is going to overpower this display, which for me is uncomfortable. So that's my biggest gripe with this thing right off the bat. But this is a ThinkPad, so there's going to be a dozen different configurations. And I'm one of the first people to post experience with it. I actually did a lot of research before I bought it for myself because I was trying to find other people's opinions and not just the teasers from CES. And unfortunately, there was nothing out there. So I had to take a leap of faith, and fortunately, Lenovo has a really good return policy, so no big deal if that's the direction I choose to go. But as of right now, the two options that we have are identical to everything I'm talking about and calling out and that you can see here, except there's an i5 version. So one more thing that I'll call out is the camera. The camera is really, really good. That's one of the most exciting things here. So I'll talk about that in a moment. Now let's just talk about overall the build quality. I'll show you the ports and stuff like that, and then we have to talk about battery. I ran a couple of battery tests, and they're not good. And I'm not gonna, keep this thing for a month hoping it becomes more efficient, which someone pointed out to me as a possibility. Yeah, forget that. I don't think that's a real thing. Okay, and let me know if I'm wrong. That'd be actually really awesome. Please let me know if I'm wrong. And we'll talk about synthetic benchmarks and my overall, experience with it in terms of performance. Okay. So as you can see here, on the left-hand side, we have the 2 USB, or rather Thunderbolt ports, so USB-C. Try to get that in the frame here, sorry. Well, let's put it on manual control and see if that gets better. Okay. Then you also have a USB-A port and a full-size HDMI. I'm a big fan of HDMI ports on laptops. I don't think laptops need to get so thin that they're thinner than an HDMI port, because then they'll probably start to bend or something. So please, we need more HDMI. HDMI is a good thing. I use it often, obviously, so that's why I'm a big fan of it. Okay, you may not care, in which case, good for you. Okay, now, new for this year is this lip. Well, there is some writing on here, just calls out the camera and microphone array. But I like the way this looks. Lenovo's been doing this on their laptops. You can kind of see it back here, on there, right there, on my Legion 5 Pro. On the right-hand side, nothing too crazy. A headphone jack and a USB-A port, and a Kensington lock. And of course, on the back, there's nothing in terms of ports. Just a really cool design. I know some people want to see the back. There's your back. nothing too crazy. This is a very quiet laptop, extremely quiet. I'm very impressed with just how quiet it really is. So if you're looking for something that keeps cool and is quiet, don't be turned off by the fact that this has fans. It is really good. It's very, very quiet. Even during stress tests and my crazy battery tests that I ran, benchmarking, it was great. It didn't get loud at all. So there is the ThinkPad X1 branding in this corner. On the other corner, you have your Lenovo badge. You know, if YouTube didn't demonetize me for some random reason, then I by now could afford better lights and better cameras. Sorry guys, this is the best I can do with what I have. Okay. So on my model, there's a fingerprint reader. As I mentioned earlier, there are only a couple of models out there right now, but eventually we'll get more. And when that happens, you know, it's going to be exciting. You'll have Windows Hello, facial recognition potentially as an option. So as of right now, I've got the fingerprint login. It's pretty fast, but the problem is that, you know, you open it up, it takes a second for that light to go from white to green. When it hits green, that's like your go-ahead to start to enter your fingerprint. So watch. Keep your eye on it. See? Takes a second, a couple of seconds really, and then you gotta put your fingerprint on there. Okay, so keyboard deck is outstanding. The keys feel good. Typing on them isn't all that bad. You know, ThinkPads have a great reputation for the quality of the keyboards. And over the last couple of years, the travel distance has become more shallow as these things have become thinner and quieter. This year, it feels like you need to give it a little bit more pressure than in last year's model, but it's still really good. So I don't want to turn anyone off to that. The backlighting this year is also very good. It'll be hard for me to demonstrate, but you know, function spacebar activates the backlighting and you get a little notification on the display letting you know that that occurred. And hopefully it's coming through here. It's a really nice, it's like a peaceful lighting. I don't know if that makes sense, but the back lights up, the letters light up, and there's just the 2 stages plus off. The trackpad is a little small, but it is a, you know, it's a ThinkPad, so you're going to have dedicated physical keys, which, you know, I like. I like being able to kind of keep my thumb right here and then type, you know, and I can continue to, you know, use the clickers without having to move my hand down and tap on the trackpad. That's very nice. Okay, so back to logging in. See how to wait, then put the finger in, and once you put the finger, it's really fast. Okay, doing things like opening up Word, Excel, Outlook, all very fast. You know, sub 2 seconds. Let me see here. Oops. Oh, forgot Windows 11 has widgets. So, Word. All right. Yeah, not bad. It did hesitate a little bit there. Let me just double check what the setting is for performance. Best performance, okay. You know, let's talk battery life. Okay, I ran 2 different battery tests and then 1 subjective test. So the first test I ran, let me pull up my notes. Okay, 30% volume, a looping YouTube video, 50% display brightness. I had the battery set to balanced mode, not best battery, just balanced mode. And I got 4 hours and 54 minutes. That's really short. I was expecting 7 or 8 hours in that mode. You know, overall, I was hoping this would be a 12-hour-ish battery life for just general office use and browsing. That was my hope. You know, all the marketing material that Intel's put out, not Lenovo, but Intel. I haven't seen any marketing material from Lenovo about the battery life of this laptop. And I do a lot of reviews with Lenovo. They'll send me a laptop, and usually you get like a reviewer's guide that calls out some, you know, really cool, interesting facts. The reviewer's guide at the time that I filmed this review, not available. So I only have, you know, my own experience to go by, which hopefully is enough for me to convey my experience to you guys and help you out in your own decision making. The other battery test I ran was with the same settings, 30% volume, looping video, 50% brightness, but I used better battery life or best battery life for the performance mode. And I got 7 hours, 22 minutes, give or take a few, you know, half a second or half a minute or so. Very disappointing. Again, 7 hours, 22 minutes, best battery mode, 30% volume, looping video, 50% brightness. Nothing else running in the background. That's, again, disappointing to me. I was hoping that that test would be 11, 12, maybe even 13 hours. Now, real world test, check this out. Started at 100% yesterday morning, or yesterday afternoon. I like that detail matters. And in 90 minutes, I lost 41% battery. I was web browsing, and I had my brightness set to about 80%. Now, I had to go up high, and by the way, this is what 80% looks like. I had to use 80%-ish because I just couldn't see. I was out in my, so yeah, the time of day does matter. I was out in my living room with my kids, and they're outside, so I wanted to sit by the window so I can keep my eye on them. And 4:30, 5 p.m., then it gets closer to 6, and I had to keep that brightness up so that I could still see what was going on screen. There's also an issue I noticed with choppy animations. This might be a Windows problem. I see it in some laptops. I don't see it in others. So just calling that out. Okay, let's just do the camera test. Camera. The camera this year is really fantastic. Let me zoom in on that for you. Hey guys. So I just got back from the gym, so sorry, my hair's all a mess. But yeah, the camera is very, very good. And yeah, I got this big backlight here, so maybe it's interfering with the quality, but plus you got to see it through YouTube and through my video camera and all that. But the 1080p camera is very good, and it's going to be weird, I think, going back to a 720p camera like on my Legion 5 Pro. If I decide to return this, spoiler alert, I probably am, and other laptops as well that have 720p, it's not going to fly. I think this is the last year that we will see any major, upper mid-level laptops plus with 720p webcams. They're all going to move over to 1080p for sure. Okay, so other notes. Let me go back to my phone here, pull up my notes. So, okay, let's talk benchmarks. So, Cinebench R23, single core performance 1,574, multi-core 7,510. I am new to synthetic benchmarks, so I don't know what an MP ratio is, but it's 4.77. Geekbench 5, single core performance 1,125, and multi-core 8,547. Now, I've seen mixed results when I posted that on Reddit and on my locals community. Some people are like, wow, it's amazing, it's better than my 8th gen H-level processor. Others are saying that's really crappy. So guys, I don't know reality. I looked at other CPUs on these online databases showing like last year's 1165 G7, and this is faster for multi-core, but it's about the same for single core. So that's what the Cinebench score, or the Geekbench score rather. So I'm not sure what all that stuff means, which is why I don't historically do. So I'll wrap up by saying this. I really expected better battery life. I was hoping for a more bright display, a display that reminded me something more like Samsung's really bright tablet displays, or even the displays on the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro, or the upcoming Galaxy Pro 2 or 2 Pro, whatever it's called. Not necessarily AMOLED, right? I read the product description before I bought it. I knew it wasn't going to be OLED or AMOLED or anything like that, but I was hoping for something just a little bit more vibrant in terms of colors. Now, no doubt, Lenovo will release a Carbon 10th Gen with an incredible display. They've already said OLED is coming. They've said that 4K is going to be an option. So if I were going back, I'm glad I bought it so I could try it out. It's great that Lenovo has a good return policy. However, I don't think I'm going to be keeping this just because I can't justify the expense with a laptop that I find to be good but not great for the money. If I spent $400, I'm like, yeah, this is a steal. But for the money, this thing retails for almost $3,500. I didn't pay that much. I would not pay that much even before I had my hands on it. I knew I wouldn't spend that kind of money on a laptop. But yeah, anyhow, it depends on what you want. So for me, I need something that's got good battery life and has a comfortable display and keyboard it doesn't have to be super thin and light, but 3 pounds is probably my limit for a 14-inch machine, or a 13.3-inch machine as well. And I need those for when I go to a meeting, or when I go on a plane, or if we're going to work, maybe I want to take my family somewhere and we're going to work remotely for a week. I don't want to haul my Legion 5 Pro, And then, the Steam Deck is coming, and fortunately I'm on the reservation list, so sometime this year I'll get a Steam Deck, and I'm not going to need a gaming laptop anymore, or at least I don't think I will. So, why carry around a 5.5 or 6 pound laptop? I know there are lighter ones out there too, like the G14, but there are always compromises you have to make. And so having a device that's specific to what you want it to be, that's really the best move. Now, it does depend on your financial situation, depends on what your work will pay for, if that's an option, or, grandma, parents, there are ways to, maybe you want to get a little side hustle gig. That's what I do. I have my primary job and I have a side hustle, and that's what I use to afford different machines and have dedicated machines like a desktop or a gaming laptop or this, or a Steam Deck or something like that. So, I'm able to kind of afford these things in that way. Hasn't always been the case. I spent many years drooling over tech that I couldn't afford. Not that I can get anything I want, but I'm at a point now where if I know where and how to work to earn extra money over a reasonable amount of time so I can afford to do some fun stuff. And this is one of those fun things. And one of those side hustles that I do is I teach at the university over here. So that's another requirement that I have. So I want something with full-size HDMI out so I can easily connect to a projector. And, oh, sorry, I keep messing up the, there we go, a little sharper. Anyhow, okay, you guys don't care about that stuff. What you do care about is if this is going to be the awesome laptop we were all hoping that it would be. Jury's out. I don't know if Lenovo is going to be able to put a bigger battery in here. I don't know if with some tweaks they can make things more efficient. I think at this point it's really up to Intel to maybe release a firmware update for the motherboard. And I don't know how, but somehow it needs to get several more hours of battery life, right? Like I told you earlier, 7.5 hours almost on that looping video test, and that's just not going to fly. Or losing 41% of my battery with light use over 90 minutes, not going to fly. I mean, I can, even on that giant gaming laptop behind me, also a Lenovo, I can get 3 hours out of it in that setting. And that's about the pace I was set to achieve with this tiny, thin and light laptop that had so much potential. Okay, so I know this is a long video, and I apologize for that, but, or you're welcome if you wanted a long video. So looking forward to your thoughts. Please let me know what you guys are going to do with this information. And I look forward to seeing additional builds come out, and hopefully, at the very least, there'll be one with a more vibrant display. But I have a bad feeling that's going to jeopardize battery life even further. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to doing another one with you. Cheers.